I believe. 1-888-31 radio, 1-888-317-2346, and we're going to go right to the phones right now. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, Mr. Bernstein. How are you?
How are you?
Good. I have a question.
Yes.
I have a friend who entered the U.S. on a visitor's visa.
You have a friend who
Then
what?
he entered the U.S.
Right.
on a visitor's visa.
Right.
Then he converted to the F1 student visa.
Okay, sounds good so far.
Okay, but it has taken him much longer than the 4-year duration for a bachelor's degree.
Right.
As well as at times he was not able to maintain the mandatory
12 credits. Right.
as an international student.
Right.
Now the question is, should he get married to a U.S. citizen, and also will that insulate him if he's to get married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident?
Well, assuming he marries an American citizen and it's a marriage for love and it's a bona fide loving marriage and they're living together as husband and wife, the fact that he didn't do his full 12 credits will not affect him in getting his green card. He would be eligible to adjust his status immediately. He'd get his work permit in 90 days. He'd get his green card in New York. They're going really fast now, 4 or 5 months, and he'd be a conditional permanent resident. The fact that he did not maintain his full 12 credits per semester would not affect him. He would still be eligible to adjust his status. Should he marry a permanent resident? Well, that permanent resident's not going to be able to help him unless that permanent resident eventually becomes a U.S. citizen. If he is not going to be marrying for love and it's not a U.S. citizen, it's not a permanent resident who's eligible to become a citizen, if he is still in school to this day, my suggestion would be that he try to reinstate his student status, explain to the government why he wasn't able to take a full course of credit, and see if he can get reinstated back into being a full-time student.
Now, the next problem, when the time comes for him to get his visa, does he have to go back to his home country to be interviewed?
Which visa are we talking about? His green card through marriage or the student visa?
I think it's the student visa.
Well, he can reinstate his status and get an extension on his I-94 here without having to go back home. The only time you would have to go back home, or at least he can try to reinstate the status, is never a guarantee. The only time he would have to go back home would be as if he wants to travel, go home, and come back. He would need to get a new visa in his home country. But if he doesn't have intention of traveling, then he would not need to go home.
I'm sorry, it's not a student visa. Actually, his brother petitioned for him.
Okay, that's a whole new story. When did the brother petition for him?
This year.
When?
Early this year.
Early this year. He's got 9 years to worry about what to do. All right, it's a 10-year wait for the brother petition, so that's off the table for right now. He doesn't have to worry about it. Worry about it in 9 years if he's still out of status. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to say, you have any other questions?
No, that's pretty much.
That's it. Okay, so I'm going to drop the call. One thing I want to say, though, and I don't want, before we go on, something somewhat big happened in the last couple of days. In terms of, we're always talking about when's the laws going to change, what's the laws going to be, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not here in the business of getting people overly excited because we have become overly excited in the past and nothing has happened. But the first attempt at trying to overhaul the immigration laws happened this week. Representative Gutierrez of Illinois, a Democrat of Illinois, I believe he is, has submitted his legislation for the House to consider, House of Representatives to consider, to overhaul the immigration laws. And there would be a lot of overhauling in his plan. He has spent a considerable amount of time meeting with immigration, labor, business leaders, and he has put this plan together. It does have some support. It will not pass as it has already been put in. There will be things that will be put that will be taken out of it. And there were some gentlemen out there who wanted to meet with you, Mr. Squeeze. Okay, I will talk to you about it after. And nevertheless, what he has proposed is what I've been saying all along. It's like I have telepathy. that I could see into the future. Because what he has proposed in this bill is this: if you're here illegally and you are not doing anything to get a green card, you are not being sponsored in a job, you are not being sponsored. Look at the camera. That would be a good idea. You're not being sponsored by family members. You are going to wait a minimum of 6 years before you can get a green card. And you have to earn your way into getting a green card, which is basically what I have always told people, is that if you have done nothing, you are going to be at the end of a very, very long line for green cards. What it also said is that for the first 6 years, they are going to reduce the backlogs of the brother-sister petitions, of the parent petitions, of the spouses of permanent resident petitions. As a matter of fact, they're going to make spouses the equivalent of being married to an American, spouses of permanent residents being married, being the equivalent of spouses to U.S. citizens. So that way, if you're married to a permanent resident, you can get a green card right away, just as if you're married to a U.S. citizen. And they're going to reduce all those backlogs first, before the 6 years before people who have done nothing can get their green cards. And this is what's been proposed. This is what I've been saying for the last 2 years. And also what they're going to do, which I didn't think would happen, but I think it's a very good idea, is if you got sponsored in a job and you have your approved labor certification, you should be eligible to get your work permit immediately while you're waiting for your green card on this very long employment-based petition list. So, again, although we're not going to get overly excited about this because we've been disappointed in the past, we do want to say, though, that it does look promising. It is a promising first step in the long needed overhaul of immigration laws. Senator Schumer is going to be, Senator from New York is going to be introducing his legislation in the Senate. It will have many of the same components of Representative Gutierrez's legislation that was introduced this week. It will have other components that are not part of Representative Gutierrez's. And by the way, that also had the DREAM Act. If you were here before 16 and you graduate high school and you're under 35, you do 2 years of college or 2 years in the military, you can get your green card. So it was a comprehensive immigration bill in terms of helping people who are here out of status. Senator Schumer will be introducing his legislation. I cannot urge people any more than I have. Get in the system, all right? Because I've been saying it for 2 years. This is what's being proposed. It's the people in the system who will go ahead of the people who have done nothing. And the people who have done nothing will wait probably an additional 6 years before they can become legal. Maybe they'll get some sort of work permission interim. We're not sure. But I can tell you that it's the people who get sponsored in jobs, the people who get sponsored by their family members are the people who are going to jump ahead of the people who have done nothing. I've been saying it now for ad infinitum, right? How long have I been saying it, Mr. Ramon? Forever, right? All right, and a Squeeze, to use a commonly used phrase by Squeeze, nobody ever listens to me. That's what Squeeze always says to me. Well, I want everybody to listen to me. That Squeeze says nobody ever listens to him. People should listen to me, okay? But I want everybody to understand. I want everybody to understand, okay? If this legislation is going to pass, if it's what's going to be, if it is going to be what has been proposed, if it is going to be what has been discussed for year after year after year after year, it is going to be the people who are filed going ahead of the people who have done nothing.